Thank you for joining us. This is a presentation about the freshman immersion class here at Pomfret. So this class has been offered for about 5 years now. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about why we created this class, and then have a chance to hear from each of the teachers about what is happening in the classroom. And then there's going to be a Q&A session after, so anybody can go ahead and use the Q&A function to type a question. And we have a couple of volunteer readers as well. So we'll be able to hear the question and hopefully the answer too. So as I said, this class was created about 5 years ago. We noticed that at Pomfret, a lot of the students who were taking arts were basing their choices of the courses on previous experience that they've had at other schools. Maybe they had taken painting and drawing, let's say, in their middle schools. So they were comfortable just with painting and drawing. But we have 6 different disciplines in the arts. And so we wanted the students to sort of broaden their experience, to experiment, to try new things. And so one of the ideas was to offer all 6 disciplines to all of the freshmen in a single year. So that was sort of the idea behind the course. The other thing is that we noticed that students were staying in the same art throughout their Pomfret career. So over 4 years, they weren't experimenting. And so we wanted to get all of the students, or at least all of the freshmen, into our classes so that they could see what actually happens. And then we also wanted to highlight these courses because Pomfret was actually one of the first of our peer schools to integrate the arts into the curriculum, the academic curriculum. And so since we have a very robust arts requirement, we felt that the students really needed to have an exposure to what was happening in our classrooms, and so they could make an informed choice. So the schedule of this course is slightly different than the other courses because we have actually 6 different sessions that they are trying to accomplish in a single year. So each of the classes is a half a term long. So actually, the first session has ended, and the first week of the second session was this week. And that will go to the end of the fall term. Then we'll have 2 sessions in the winter and 2 in the spring. I guess the best thing to do now is to let you hear from each of the teachers. They're going to describe a little bit about what happens in their classrooms and what they do and what this course has meant to them and what it means to their students. So I'm going to toss it over to JP, and we'll just go right through the roster of all of these courses. Go ahead, JP.
All right. Good evening. I'm JP. I teach the painting and drawing portion of the freshman immersion program. It's really a special program, and it's great for me to meet every single freshman that comes to school. My class is somewhat of a rapid run through of basic rendering techniques. We probably do 1 assignment per block, and I try to do every assignment with the students, partially to model the assignment, but also to engage in the assignments that I pass out. I believe that everyone, and I really believe that everyone can learn to draw realistically. So I introduce them to a few concepts, one of them being sighting and measuring, which is a simple concept, but it takes a little bit of getting used to. And also doing exercises that teach students to draw what they see rather than what they think they see. So today, for example, we did 6 drawings of a still life. They worked with their right hand, they worked with their left hand, they flipped the image upside down. It was a photograph of a still life. They did blind contour drawing. So they're working in ways that they're not used to. And what I love about that is, for example, when you work with your left hand, they slow way down. You're drawing, you're really paying attention to your mark making. The drawings that are drawn upside down, they oftentimes come out better than the ones that draw with their regular hands. We work a lot from direct observation, meaning still lifes. All of our assignments are done in the studio. There is no homework, but the studio is available to students anytime they want to work on either projects that I give them or their own projects, either for other classes or even just for themselves. So it's a great program. I'm really excited about it. We always end with a collaborative mural project. So at the end of the year, there's 6 pieces that are created by every freshman in that class. It's really exciting. I welcome any questions, but I guess my job now is to send this over to Sam Beckwith in the music department. Good luck, Sam.
Thank you. As JP said, my name is Samuel Beckwith. I'm the director of instrumental music here, and I run the music portion of Freshman Arts Immersion. I suppose kind of similar to JP's belief that anybody can draw realistically, my hot take is that I don't believe talent actually exists. It's that, your abilities are the result of your, of the time and effort that you put into them. And music is one of those disciplines and experiences that is really, really hard for teenagers to come in, especially because there's zero privacy with music. People can hear what's going on. If you sing a note and it sounds weird or out of tune, everybody knows. And so because of that, a lot of teenagers, especially teenage boys whose voices are just changing, are super, super uncomfortable singing and being musical and open in that's in any context. So one of the things that I really strive to do is to make my classroom a safe place for kids to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And so we do karaoke just to, and I bring in the mic and the speaker and, and I say, you need to sing for everybody. And, they always push back, but then they realize that performing is fun and everybody gets into it a bit. But that's not all we do. I also do bucket drumming to teach like improvisation and ensemble skills. We do a lot of musical analysis to kind of challenge how the perceptions that people have about music, and to really teach deep listening and critical listening, and to expose my students to music that they may not otherwise encounter, and to try to give them the skills to, if not like it, at least appreciate it and be able to talk about it. I mean, it's 5 weeks. We do a little bit of everything. But yeah, that's what we do in music. I don't know who I'm passing it off to now.
Me.
Okay, to Lindsay. Go, Lindsay, go.
So I'm Lindsay Lehman, and I teach photography at Pomfret. And normally our photo classes are 10 weeks, as most of our arts courses are at 10 weeks at Pomfret. But our freshman immersion obviously is a shorter version of the program. And so my goal for our kids is to really just get through the very basics of learning how their cameras work. And we use 2 different tools in photography. We start them out with their smartphones because, believe it or not, they're with them all the time. And they're tools that they can use well all the time. And so our first assignment's always just, how do you shoot, what do you shoot, and doing so intentionally. And then we work a lot with Adobe software programs, Adobe Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop. and really editing pictures and making them presentable, not over editing, but making sure that they have correct values. So we work a lot with digital tools in our photography course. And then come about halfway through our 5-week process, we work with digital SLR cameras, and each kid will be provided a camera through the school to really learn about aperture and shutter speed, continue to practice the composition skills that they learned with the smartphone assignments, and work on building their understanding of composition and 2D design. And we finish out our term in photography working with Photoshop and evaluating songs that they love and they hate, and learning how to create album covers that kind of explore the emotion of the music that they listen to and put something visual to that and really identify what that song would look like if they were asked to photograph the album cover by the artist. And so we try, because as artists, we all of my colleagues, we all use a variety of different art mediums in our personal life and our professional life. And so we each try and build, I think, in our programming, something that connects all of the different disciplines that they're going to be exploring, because we as artists use all the different, different disciplines that they explore. I think it's so important for them, I believe, as Sam said, to be really vulnerable and think both logistically, but also emotionally in the work that they're creating. And I think as freshmen, it's difficult for some of them as they're learning to get to know their Pomfret experience. And I see so much growth in these kids in the year that we all work with them, and they come back to visit in their sophomore, junior, senior years. And we can see how they've grown as artists because they've worked in the different disciplines, and they're excited about it. To see some of our kids come in really nervous and then explore and become more comfortable is an amazing thing to see as an art teacher. So I'm so excited that we continue to do this arts immersion program every year, because we see so many amazing things come from the kids because of this exploration together. So with that, I will pass it off to Nina, Joly, and dance.
Thanks, Lindsay. Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Nina Joly, and I'm the director of the dance program here at Pomfret, and I teach the dance portion of freshman arts immersion. I just got the pleasure of meeting my distance learning batch of freshmen this morning for the first time, and so I gave them a little bit of a similar spiel earlier today about why I love arts immersion. And I think they probably think I tell it to everybody, and I do because it's true. Over the course of my time, I came to Pomfret 5 years ago when arts immersion was brand new, and I feel like I have really benefited, and my program has really benefited from this program. I get super excited every time I get a new group of your wonderful students, because it is so full of possibility. And I get to think a lot about sort of the future of my work here and the future of our program. I think so in my experience with the arts immersion program, a lot of students come into dance. I mean, I would say that the majority of students that I teach in arts immersion do not have a classical experience in dance or are trained in dance in any way. Some are, but mostly they are not. And I think often students come into dance class with this idea that dance is something very serious and very mysterious and very technical and very classical and not a lot of fun. And I feel like my whole job is to try to prove them wrong about that, and that dance is something that can be silly and fun and comfortable and scary sometimes, but we're all trying it together. And also that dance is something that really lives and populates our daily lives, especially in this day and age with the internet, and everyone's obsessed with TikTok dances and stuff like that. And that dance really is something that is all around us in pop culture, is sort of something that's at the crux of what we do in this class. So in the freshman portion of arts immersion, it is not like a technique workshop in any serious way. I don't necessarily teach the kids ballet technique or jazz technique, although we do sort of dabble a little bit for fun, but it's not my intention that they pick up any sort of serious technique work in this course. What I'm a lot more interested in is the kids having a lot of opportunities to discover sort of their own personal movement vocabulary. The ways that they like to move that kind of feel good, and the ways that they like to move naturally, which is really, there's a huge wide range that is really fun to explore together. And also that they get to like have fun dancing, and they get to dance to music that they love, that they're interested in. We do a lot of different types of exercises to facilitate the kids making up their own movement. I think another sort of misconception about dance class is that you go in and the teacher gives you the steps and then you do them and then that's it. And of course it can be that way sometimes, but what I think is a lot more valuable as sort of a life skill for these kids in general is the opportunity to be making their own work. And also what I think is the very, very complex process of talking about what they're doing. So I have the kids teach each other their own movement a lot. We give each other a lot of feedback. And a lot of the different kinds of work that we do day to day lead up to a final project that every freshman who goes through the course does, which is that they create a music video, a dance music video to a song of their choosing that they choreograph and star in at the conclusion of the class. And then we finish with a big film festival day where the kids get to watch one another's videos. And that is always a super, super fun day to see them really kind of be blown away by what one another, can do and can create, and really appreciate that about each other. I think it is invaluable. So those are some of the reasons why I love this course and why I love getting to teach your children. And Arts Immersion really is cool for all the reason that that Chip Lamb was mentioning earlier, because I think a lot of kids would not necessarily come to the program on their own without having this opportunity in the Arts Immersion, in the course of their year in Arts Immersion, to really discover those sort of maybe as yet undiscovered parts of themselves, or the things that they really enjoy doing and the ways that they enjoy spending their time creatively. So with that, I'm gonna pass it to Sarah.
Hello, I'm Sarah MacLeod, and I am the ceramics and sculpture teacher. And for all the same reasons that everyone's talked about, I truly love the Arts Immersion because it really does get students in your classroom with no preconceived notions quite often in terms of like, well, I'm taking this class because I had to sign up for an arts class. No, they're going through all of them. And so I think that they come in with an excitement that maybe might not have happened if this is the class that they just had to have on their schedule. And it's really helped grow the ceramics program, and it's been wonderful. I had a teacher who allowed me or helped me fall in love with clay. And I try to do the same thing for every student, all of your students who walk through the ceramic studio door. And there's something about working in 3 dimensions that I think, there's a satisfaction when you finish your piece and you've got this, whether it's a sculpture or whether it's a bowl that you've made, and there's this pride that like, wow, I get to take this with me and then I can use it or I can display it. And I think, it's fun to see the kids really shine when they get to see their finished pieces. They get in my class, we start with kind of the brief history of clay, what it is, where it comes from. It's always fun to shock the kids that clay is often, a lot of it is chemistry. So from the glazing to just the creating of clay, there's a lot of chemistry involved in it. And so the students are like, oh, I didn't know there was so much science and measuring and what gets involved with it, which is fun to pass that knowledge along. And we talk a lot about sort of how clay has driven, a lot of, the trade routes in history. And you could probably have a history class just on how clay has helped shape our world from beginning civilizations to now. So it's pretty cool. And I love that they get excited about that too. I always think that I'm droning on, and then every now and then a kid, or at least one or two by the end, is like, I didn't know that. That's so cool. Could we have a history class on that? I'm like, sure, ask the history department. But and even talking about the process of clay, that we recycle our clay and how that happens. And one of the students today, who this is only their second class with me of the second group, and they were like, are you going to show us how you recycle the clay? Like, we want to see how you take all this stuff that is not, oh, so sorry. It's my husband's computer, so sorry. Are you going to show us how you do that? And right now I'm in the process of mixing up our own colored slips, and the students are like, oh, how do you do that? Like, show us how you're measuring. And so they get really excited. What we start with is the most basic method of shaping clay, and it's with pinch pots, and the students kind of run the gamut of what they come in knowledge-wise to class. Some have had ceramics classes before, some haven't. Some have only had wheel-based ceramics classes where they've been, on a pottery wheel and haven't done a lot of hand building techniques. And so for starting with pinch pots, they make 2 of them, they put them together in a combined form, and then they research animals to churn their what looks like an egg into an anatomically correct animal of their choice. And the coolest thing about this project is it takes a while, because they're really focusing on the detail, everything from, the eye, or like, we've had hedgehogs made before. How are we going to make all those hedgehog spikes? And I love breaking that down with the students and having them come up with like, well, I could do it this way. Or we had a student last year who, like a sieve, and she pressed clay through the sieve, and like, it took her forever, but it made her piece look really awesome. And that was something that she came up with. And so, at the end, they're super proud of all these animals, and we've had all sorts of animals being made. And then we do 2 projects. And the second project, we work on a little bit more sculptural elements. We use like a heavier styrofoam that would kind of go in between. It's a building material, styrofoam essentially. And they carve out and sand and cut out freshman fish, we call them. So they're these fish sculptures that they turn into kind of representation of their own personalities, and they're going to get hung up from the ceramic studio ceiling. And so every freshman will have left their freshman fish there, and then hopefully they'll come back and get them and take them with them when they graduate. But I really and truly think that this is just a wonderful program. And I think all of us benefit immensely from getting to know the freshmen right away. So, even just from outside the classroom standpoint, when they're back sophomore year, I feel like I know all the sophomores, because I've had them all in freshman immersion, which is really, really nice. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Chip for theater.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. So in addition to leading the arts department, I am the theater director. So I direct the plays, I teach playwriting and improvisation in a class called The Power of Story. But in the freshman immersion, I am spending a lot of my time trying to make the stage a little bit less scary for most of these kids. They come in with a lot of preconceived notions about what theater is and what it isn't. And for most of them, it is really foreign territory. So we concentrate on lots of really simple things like simple talking, simple listening, simple storytelling. And the basis of my approach to this is not necessarily text-based. Most of the kids are petrified of memorizing lines, or I should say, forgetting their lines. So that's one of the reasons why I take a different tactic, which is this, that theater is really based on actions. And so it is behavior, it is doing, it is human beings in a finite space doing very, very specific things for a specific reason. And in that way, I'm trying to take a little bit of the pressure off and maybe some of those preconceived notions. All of the kids have a chance to act, direct, and write their own pieces. And very much like you heard in some of the other descriptions, this is project-based. So we start from a very, very simple project. And by the end, they're actually acting, directing, and writing their own plays. And we do that in 5.5 weeks, which is, I think, pretty remarkable. And it's a testament to, I think, the energy that these kids have, and their desire to create. They are, when they realize that it's going to be okay, they really go at it, and they want to create, they want to be there, they want to collaborate with each other, and it's really a lot of fun to see. So that's a snapshot of each of these programs, and we only have a few minutes left, but I thought that we might be able to read a couple of the questions that people have written in the Q&A, and if that is possible. Lindsay, do you have a Q&A question there?
I have the Q&A open, but there are no questions, which means we did a great job.
Wow. It was a great job. You guys did a great job. I want to take this course. In a way, I mean, this is, I guess I'll just say that this has really become the foundation of our department. This is the first experience that the kids have, and they are forming their opinion about the arts, about themselves as artists, and about the rest of the curriculum of the next 4 years. And they do that very, very quickly. And things happen fast in high school. So it's a lot of high energy and a lot of creativity, and it is quick. 5 weeks goes by really fast.
So I do have a question.
Right.
The performances, theater, dance, music, are they recorded?
Do you want to try it, Nina?
Sure. I can speak most succinctly to my own performances, which are recorded, but I do believe that there's definitely a concerted effort made to record everything that we do in the performing arts. Is that correct, Chip and Sam? I believe so.
In classes, like the freshman immersion, I don't record the kids' final projects, but we do record, let's say, each of the plays that we do in the year, and major performances throughout the year. So major dance, music, theater performances are recorded and available.
Yeah, it's similar in my program. Much classwork is not recorded, although I do maintain a website for my own department, which I'll plug. It's www.pomfretschooldance.com,
Nice.
where you can see a beautiful gallery of dance images. And I do post really strong student work on that website with the students' permission. So you can see some of the really cool and excellent final projects from some of the freshman arts immersion students over the last 5 years there, as well as a few projects from my other courses as well, some of my more advanced courses. There's a performance page on there as well, where you can see all of my full-length dance performances, which happen twice annually, and those are there as well.
Excellent. Okay, well, I think we are wrapping up now, unless there is anything that anybody forgot to say that they really wanted to say about this course.
I just want to say the kids that I've met, both distance learning and in person, we have such a fantastic freshman group. The kids are so engaged and excited, and I've really loved meeting them all so far. So they're off to a great start and really doing really well. I'm enjoying them.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that. The energy and creativity that we're seeing is really, well, you can hear it in the descriptions of these classes from these teachers. They are, they're realizing that these students are ready to work and ready to have a good time. and learn about themselves and these different disciplines.
Hey, Chip, we just had one other question come in.
Yeah, go ahead, please, Nina.
So this question says, how will a freshman student be given advice for continuing their interest in their sophomore year by the end of their freshman year? So maybe how are they advised about continuing their work in the arts?
So anybody want to take this one?
Well, I can speak to it sort of in my experience. And this is sort of what I was thinking about as like a postscript as well. Around Parents Weekend, I often think about like how fun and exciting it is for all of the parents as much as it is for us to sort of begin this ride of like where the kids are going to go with this creative work. I found that a lot of my students who become like very central to the program did not come in intending to do that or intending to be dancers. We discover each other in freshman arts immersion. That is something that I always return back to and find myself talking a lot about with some of my parents who, you know, I first met when they were the parents of freshmen. You know, I think that over the course of the, before I go on, I don't know if there's anyone else who wants to chime in here, because I don't want to only talk about my own program.
Well, you talk about it so well.
Yeah, you can talk about your own program, and then I can talk about mine. I can say a couple words.
Go ahead for a second.
Okay. So as probably actually in direct contrast of Nina, the kids who continue in the music program are typically the kids who have been doing it for a while. You know, especially whether it be chamber music or a private lessons program, they're typically kids who have been playing an instrument or singing for a number of years, and then they kind of find their way to me. And then in that class, I'm like, "Oh, you play piano? Oh, you've been playing piano for 9 years? Let me help you figure out how to best continue pursuing that interest here," and helping shuttle them into probably our private lessons program, but also working with my colleague Ryan Burns on maybe getting them to perform in the chapel or other avenues or venues. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. Somebody just asked about an a cappella group. And so I answered the question for them. And I don't know if everybody can see the Q&A answers, but we do have a cappella group. It's called the Honors Vocal Chamber Ensemble, and students generally audition for that and they perform throughout the year. And Dr. Burns, who's not in our freshman immersion program, but runs the choral program, takes care of that course. So students are interested can look. I think it's sophomore, junior, senior year. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So just to circle back to that question, and Nina, chime in if you want to add something more. We are talking to these students all the time about the next step beyond this freshman immersion. Those conversations start anytime in their freshman year, and basically happen throughout the year. And so I know that Lindsay and JP and Sarah and Nita and Sam are always having those conversations informally, but maybe also speak to an advisor and say, you know, this student is really, really gifted in this area and could really make a difference here at school. And so we want to encourage that.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely feel that to a certain extent. All of my other courses that are available to students following freshman arts immersion, definitely, I feel like often they sort of self-populate, which is always really, really thrilling to see happen. At the same time, I definitely make a point that when I see not just talent, but when I see that what we do, the kind of work that we do, or in dance and in the performing arts in general, when I see that it's really bringing a particular student a lot of joy. You know, you can tell when a kid leaves class in a great mood, or when they really feel deeply satisfied with something that they've done, or you can tell that they're enjoying talking about the work. That's something I really look for as well. And I don't know always that those kids are sort of aware of their ability in that capacity. And so I really do try to make it clear to kids who sort of come in with like a lot of technical skill or talent, but also to kids who I can tell are sort of just enjoying the work, that, regardless of whether you sort of become a dancer or become an artist or whatever or not, that this is sort of a worthwhile way for us to be spending our time in general. And I definitely also always try to make that a point to, the student's advisor when we're talking about next year sort of more concretely. So those are kind of the two ways that it happens for me.
And I'll just jump in and say, like, I know for my students, they often look around the room and see the projects that are happening in the ceramics 1, 2, and advanced ceramics classes. And they'll be like, oh, when do we get to do that? I'm like, we have to come back and take my class again, which is great. And so, being able to have, classes where students are doing really wonderful things in the upper levels has been really helpful for the freshmen, because they look at that and they're like, oh, I want to do that. And I'm like, well, come back. So.
Yeah, and I would say that the same thing happens for performance when students see the singers and dancers in chapel. But in the dance show, in the plays, that is the best advertising that we can present. And it's really fun. Well, I think that that's probably going to wrap things up, unless there are any other Q&As. I guess I don't see any more.
There was not, but there was one parent who was just extremely impressed with the program and the braveness to continue to foster young beings' creative minds. So they said, thank you very much. So I'm sharing that with all of my colleagues. So thank you.
Yeah, and that's a good note to end on. I am really privileged to work with these artists on a daily basis, and with your children. And it's a great confluence of talent and passion, and just a feeling like, let's have some fun. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Take care.